A question we often get asked is, what does it cost to live this kind of luxurious life that you live on a beautiful boat? Well, that's what we're going to tell you today.
So we'll let you know what it costs us and how we break down those costs. Now, of course, this will vary wildly depending on the type of boat you've got, where you're sailing, how you sail, what's your lifestyle like. But at least we'll give you a basis today that you can probably set your own budget.
And we'll put this information on our website, so you don't need to take notes. You can go there and have a look at it on all the breakdown, etc. there for you. We will be talking in Australian dollars, but we'll provide it for a conversion for you in Euro and US dollars as it is today. So if you're considering becoming a full-time liveaboard sailor, or you're just curious as to what it might cost to live a life like this, well, this is the video for you, because I think you're going to be surprised.
All right, let's start with the big one. First up, boat purchase. Now, if we look like we're reading a bit of this off the computer, we've got a lot of detail here, so we want to make sure we keep it accurate for you. So for us, we purchased a new boat, so that's quite a big cost. But whether you purchase a new boat or a second-hand boat, an old boat, all of these things factor into the cost of operation and maintenance of a boat. So when we go through those categories, we'll let you know how our new boat affected those costs. So we bought a new Jeanneau Sun Odyssey 410, and now because we purchased the boat in France, but we're Australian registered boat, it's actually sold as export, so we don't pay any VAT. So that's a significant cost savings for us up front. It probably saved us in the best part of 20% of the purchase price of the boat.
But neither have we paid Australian tax or import duty on the boat because we haven't yet taken the boat back to Australia. So that is a significant saving for us, that we haven't actually paid tax anywhere.
Yeah. Now what we will add into here is that we bought the boat without electronics, so we had to buy those separately. We bought a dinghy, we bought sails. To make the boat a liveaboard boat, we're adding in here costs for solar panels, arch, batteries, etc. Now all of these are going to be things that if you need to add to your boat, they're going to be quite specific to your boat, your requirements, and they're quite easy costs to work out online. So all up, we spent about 520,000 Australian dollars on our boat. Now in Australia, in Melbourne where we live, the median house price is about, $918,000. And if you add a car onto there and etc., the purchase price of a place to live on land compared to this boat life that we've got, we've probably only spent about 50% of a median house price in Melbourne.
Yep, it's a pretty nice half a house.
Yeah, it's a very nice half of house, and it's very mobile.
Yeah, it's our holidays too.
So boat maintenance for us is something which is pretty simple. We've got a new boat. Everything is brand new, so we don't actually face a lot of boat maintenance. And then surprisingly, or some of the few things that we do have to maintain, quite a number of those are covered under warranty. We replaced hatches this year because the anodizing had failed. That was replaced under warranty. We've had a few latches fail and a light switch. All of those get replaced under warranty. So we don't face any of those costs, and that's directly resulted to purchasing a new boat. But maintenance costs, on an older boat, you might be looking at running rigging, standing rigging. When you haul out, you might have osmosis. There's a long list of things. This is the biggest area of hidden cost that you will have in this life. And it's not just the monetary cost, it's the time cost as well, which was one of the things that we made a conscious choice about in buying the new boat. We knew that we would need to add to it and take our time to do that, but we wouldn't be, those are the things that we knew. We weren't going to come across things that we didn't know that were going to take a lot of money and a lot of time to rectify.
And that's certainly something we've noticed, especially this winter when we've been working with a lot of other cruisers, when we see they come across these big unknowns. They really didn't know that there was anything wrong in their rigging or the have water leaking and things, and then they've got to work out how to get the money for that. At least we knew. We spent the money up front, but we knew what we had. And then that was it.
So what did we spend in the last year? So we spent $1,800 on servicing the engine and parts. So that's 2 services actually. One which is the parts and consumables for a self-service that I've just done. And the other was the service we got done at the start of the season in Malta, which cost us nearly €1,000. So that's about 1,500. In fact, it's right at the moment, it's a little bit more, 1,700 Australian dollars. So that pretty much factored into the majority of the costs for the year. So that was $1,800. Dinghy, we had to do a bit of gel coat repair because we knocked it around a little bit. So that was $86. Miscellaneous things around the hull and the deck was $13. Probably a couple of our bigger ones was electrical. The PCB board on our wind instrument failed, so that cost us $460 to get the new PCB board. And then the fridge repair. I broke the fridge, so that cost us $820 to get a new evaporator plate put in, and then some miscellaneous systems stuff, so that's like $58. So all up $2,673 for the year. Next category is boat operations. So these are all the typical running costs on the boat. So we'll just run through them. We break them down into equipment, $260 for the year. Fees, so $676 for the year. That's going through the Corinth Canal, agents' fees in Greece and cruising fees in Greece. Insurance is the next big one, and we might have a little discussion on this. So our insurance cost for the year is 4,200 Australian dollars. This allows us to cruise pretty much anywhere in the Mediterranean. We can't go up to Israel. We can't go across a few of the places in the North African coast, but we've got an inclusion for our time that we spend in Tunisia. So the insurance costs are really based around, I suppose, the risk that basically on you as a sailor, and the locations that you are going to be sailing, and can be time of year depending on weather. That's not so much of a consideration here in the Mediterranean. Now you might be surprised, you'll hear all sorts of rules of thumb about insurance, but it doesn't matter whether your boat is a 2023 boat like ours or a 2003 boat. If you lose the mast, it's going to cost about the same amount of money to replace it. If you hit an expensive boat, you're likely to put the same sort of damage in it. Doesn't matter how old your boat is. So there's a lot of things that are built into insurance which have nothing to do with the purchase price of your boat. Only total loss is where it really comes into that, which is, I have to imagine, is not a common thing in insurance. So it's not a cheap amount of money, but for us it's necessary because total loss is a consideration, and we do have a lot of money invested into the boat, so we keep full insurance on our boat.
It's really windy here.
It's quite windy, yes. It's got a little squall coming through. Diesel is a reasonable cost in operations. Last year we spent 1,650 Australian dollars. We did about approximately 300 hours on the engine, probably just a little bit less. LPG, $250. This can vary heaps, can't it? Man.
We have a little tank, 3 kilo tank, the little one this big, and we were paying more than €30 in Italy, weren't we?
Up to €39 to swap it.
It's the little one. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, in Tunisia it costs us
10 Aussie dollars.
10 Aussie dollars. So it's equivalent to 10 Aussie dollars to about 70 Aussie dollars. Yeah. Petrol, which is really just for the dinghy, was $250 for the year. Marinas in the summer. Now this is another big variable. We spent our summer mainly in Greece. We only spent $400 on marinas. That's 3 nights, and we really went into those marinas so that we could get the maintenance work done on our boat. So if we didn't have that, we wouldn't have even spent that money. Now Normally in the previous year we spent a lot more on marinas, but we were sailing in areas that if there was bad weather, then marinas were really your only option. So that is what can drive your costs up. Marina costs vary greatly. You know, we have been into Monaco, which you would think is like the most expensive marina that you're going to go into, but it's not.
115, I think.
Yeah, about,
Euro?
Yes. You'll pay the same at Palermo. We haven't been into Capri, but oh my goodness, apparently that's over 300 euros a night for a boat like ours. So, you know, these sorts of costs can rack up really quickly. In our first year, we went into Cap d'Agde because, you know, there's no real places to anchor along that coast.
We were there for about a week, weren't we?
Yeah, and we ended up being there a week because the weather sort of trapped us in there. So this is one of those things that really is going to vary. If you're like us and you prefer staying on anchor, then you can keep this low.
And it also varies by the length of your boat and whether you've got a monohull or a catamaran.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
Yeah, but of course all of these costs are online in the cruising areas, and I'd recommend getting the Navily app and having a look. And you can find a lot of the costs there.
Marina in winter.
Yes.
So we're in Tunisia, which is one of the cheapest places to winter for marinas. And over there, the price for 6 months is actually a little bit more expensive than the price for a year. So we end up booking for the year.
Yeah.
It gives us a bit of safety. We don't have to actually get out on a certain time. And also, if we needed a spot to leave the boat and go home, you know, it's there. Our spot is waiting for us and paid for. So for this winter, we paid yearly contract 3,150 Aussie dollars for the whole year.
Yeah.
We're only using 5 months of it, but
Yeah.
not bad.
So again, this is one of those things that's quite easy to find pricing. You can ask around many of the marinas. Do be careful. I got caught out, you know, in Cartagena looking at the price online, but it didn't include VAT and port taxes, which were considerable. Yeah, it was around an extra 30% more for it. But all those are there, but they can, like Turkey has just gone through the roof, you know, tens of thousands of euros sometimes to stay in marinas there for winter, where it used to be a good wintering option. Yeah.
You don't have to winter in a marina, but it's very common. Most people settle down and stop for the winter over here, don't they? We don't know anybody who sails through winter, but some people do.
I think you're going to miss out if you don't. So that's our personal preference.
Yeah.
We didn't spend anything on moorings this year. We did stay on some moorings in Malta, but they were free. And sailing subs. So you know, there are certain things that you can belong to, like Navily, predict wind, windy, etc. So these are all things that you need to really operate the boat. So we spent 116 Australian dollars for the year.
Online subscriptions.
Yeah, so this is a big category for us, $10,702 in total.
Under the category of boat improvements, well, we have been doing a little bit of work on our boat. Because it came as a cruising boat and we're setting it up as a full-time liveaboard and we want to cross oceans, so there's a few things we had to do. Dinghy we spent nothing on. It's fine as it is.
Yeah.
Electrical. Yeah, you spent a bit of money on electrical.
Yeah, there's been, you know, just a few things. I put an external regulator on this year. There's just a few more outlets. I can't even remember the things that I've done, but you know, this is like death by a thousand cuts. Really, it's some of these categories because it's just a few euros here and there in the chandlery, and over the year they add up. So $2,620 we spent on electrical improvements. Hull and deck, 3,551.
Yeah, what were they?
I'm even struggling to remember now. But you know, it's things like fenders, ropes and lines. We've bought some bits and pieces to put an internal stay on. So there's all. You know, again, it's a little bit like death by a thousand cuts. You buy a block here. We put on a new. Double clutch, you know, so all those cost a little bit of money.
So 3,551 in hull/deck improvement. We've done 0 in engine improvement. We're fine as it is. Interior improvements. we've got $407 under interior improvements. I remember the air fryer, and I don't really think there was much else, was there?
No, that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Whole lot of miscellaneous, $579. We've done nothing with the sails this year. We did some improvements last year by putting the third reef patch into the mainsail, but we've had to do nothing this year. And systems, so it's one of our categories. This is mainly our water maker. We spent $3,251 on the water maker and a few other bits and pieces around the boats.
Not quite finished yet.
Not quite finished.
Nearly.
Yeah, just needs to be plumbed together. So all up this year, we've spent $10,408 on boat improvements. I suppose as the category goes, I'm expecting next year we'll spend less than this.
And then we should be just about done. This is really an upfront cost.
Yeah. It's a bit of that upfront cost that takes you a couple of years to get your boat from a production boat to a liveaboard boat.
And if you're buying a boat that someone else has already done the improvements on, a second-hand boat, you might not have much of this at all.
Yeah.
Next category we have is entertainment. Well, we don't go to movies. We haven't been to a movie. We don't do live entertainment or anything. It's just kind of not part of our life. But we do have some online subscriptions for our entertainment. And it's basically Netflix and Spotify and Kindle.
Yes.
So for our category of entertainment, we spent $504 for the year. The next category we have is medical. We have medical insurance, so we choose to take out medical insurance. We actually know, I think a lot of our friends, I think most of our friends do not carry medical insurance when they're travelling. We use Topsail, which is a yachtsman insurance. So it covers you not only on the land, but also when you're out at sea, and it's specific for people who are sailing. It's a bit like travel insurance that it also covers lost luggage and return to the boat if you get delayed, repatriation to home if someone is sick at home, or if we're sick they'll send us home, all that kind of stuff. As Australians, we have great medical care at home, public care at home, so we don't keep medical insurance at home because we would then rely on the public system. But when we're away, we like to be covered. So our Topsail insurance costs us $2,679 this year. It went up a little bit because we had a claim because Richard had surgery last year. But I guess I just want to address it's actually very cheap. Medical care is very cheap and very good all where we've been sailing, isn't it?
In Europe, yes. Yeah. And yeah, for the most part, very affordable. My 8 days in hospital, surgery, anesthesiologist, scans,
everything.
Blood tests, all the rest, costs about 2,800 Australian. So
that was covered. The insurance covered, but
yeah,
to pay out of pocket would have been okay.
Yes,
but we knew somebody else who had the same surgery in Portugal at the same time. Was it Portugal?
Yeah, I think it was.
And it was something like €25,000.
Yeah.
So if you're prepared to pay for that, well, okay, but
yeah,
we're happy to be insured. To use a GP, we used a GP in Malta. I think it was about €17. I needed a doctor in Greece. It was easier to go to the public hospital than get an appointment with a GP, and that was free. They asked my passport, looked at it and said, we'll send you the bill, and they didn't. So maybe some kind of reciprocal agreement there. So if you wanted to self-insure, that they're the kind of things that you're looking at.
Yeah, I suppose for us, one of the other things is because we're so far away, one of the things that the health insurance, travel insurance covers is mooring fees on the boat as well. So if we had to get repatriated to Australia, it would cover that cost. So some of those things can be different depending where where your home is and how much it costs you to get back to your boat and how long you would be away.
Yeah. So other medical expenses that we have had this year are negligible. Richard's had some extensive dental work in Tunisia, which is very good and very cheap, and all up that was 700 Aussie dollars. This year we have spent 70 Aussie dollars on doctor, and that's me getting my shoulder sorted. That was 2 doctor's appointments with a physiotherapy, Dr. Anna, and an orthopaedic surgeon, that's right. And then I had extensive physiotherapy for 10 sessions, and that cost all of 110 Aussie dollars. So really, really very affordable.
Yeah. So again, this can be into what you might want to factor is that a country like Tunisia, if you want to spend your winter in Tunisia, you can do your dental, you can do your doctor visits and checkups and all the rest in it, and it's quite cheap. So, those might be different prices if you do those in other parts of Europe or America or wherever you're sailing.
Okay, another category under the medical area is medications, and we have a grand total of $25 for the year for medicines. Optical. Richard's got new glasses, and we use an online service called Zenni, Z-E-N-N-I. They were great.
Yeah.
I didn't need glasses this year because I had got some when I went home, but I have just ordered some. Doing things like that is a little bit more difficult on a boat because we're not staying around for a long time, but that worked out really well.
Yeah, so we, when we at home in Australia this year, we got our eyes checked and got new prescriptions, which is free in Australia to do that. So of course then we can then use that to order glasses online.
Yep. So in our medical category, we have spent a total of $3,864 for the year. Our next category is living expenses. We've broken that down into living expenses over summer and living expenses over winter because we figured they would be quite different. Our lifestyle is certainly very different, but you might be surprised they're actually not that different.
Yeah.
So we stayed in Tunisia, which was a lot cheaper, but we just spent a lot more. We just bought a lot more.
Yeah.
So the first subcategory under living expenses is bank fees. So what we'll do is give you a monthly average, and we're saying we have 6 months of summer and 6 months of winter. So in summer we spent an average of $17 a month on bank fees, and in winters we spent an average of $24 a month. So that comes to $246 for the year on bank fees.
So charity in the summer, and we have this as a different category, it was only $4 a month, but in winter it was $130 a month. So that's about $130 a month on cats in Tunisia, but that's fine.
Yeah, a lot on cat food and treatment and some sterilisation.
Yeah, so we spent $804 in total for charity for the year.
The next subcategory is eating out. So in summer we spent an average of $326 eating out. We don't go to fine restaurants. If we go out, if we go to a town, we'll stop at a casual bistro, taverna, maybe get a pizza. When we go into towns, we'll usually get a coffee and a pastry. They all go into what we call eating out. And in winter, we thought it would be a lot cheaper. It's actually not that much cheaper. It's $220.
Yeah.
Now, it was much, much cheaper in winter. We just went out a lot more.
Yeah.
The cafe was at the foot of the boat, maybe 10 metres away.
But coffees are cheap.
Croissants are cheap.
A couple of Australian dollars for a coffee. Yeah. So, while we went out on a regular basis, it was a lot cheaper.
Yeah. So in total, we have spent $3,276 on eating out for the year. Groceries. So next subcategory is groceries. So there is a bit of a difference. In summer, we averaged $958 a month on groceries. And in winter, we averaged $472 a month. So in total, we spent $8,580 for the year on groceries. This year, we decided to become vegetarian too, so that's probably reduced our price a little bit, but I'm not sure. We had a lot of vegetables and a lot of yummy stuff.
Yeah.
Our next category is haberdashery. So haberdashery includes sewing things, wool. I've usually got knitting nearby. Materials, fabrics and things. So in summer, we spent an average of $29 a month on haberdashery, and in winter, an average of $44 a month, coming to a total of $438 for haberdashery, which is my entertainment.
Yes.
It's cheaper than golf, and it also makes beautiful clothes.
Yep.
Next category, household. So they're really things, I know household is a bad name for things on a boat, but that's what I call it. They're things like new towels, bed linen, etc., tea towels, just the new pots, anything we need around the place, really inside things. Household over summer, we spent an average of $178 a month, and in winter, $230 a month. So that came to $2,448 for the year. And again, that's one of those things that is going to drop significantly and should go down to almost nothing as we've got the boat nicely set up just the way we want it.
I mean, you've brought a lot of sheeting material this year and made sheet for the beds. So, there's a lot of things like that really going to become
Yeah, they'll last for years.
last for years.
I've made enough sheets so I don't have to do the laundry. We'll get to a laundry expense soon.
Yeah.
Because we can actually go almost all of summer without going to the laundry. So, laundry expenses. Over summer, we spent $23 a month on laundry, and in winters, we spent $22 a month on laundry. So, a total of $270 for the year. We wanted to track that because we've been thinking of putting in a washing machine, and we're wondering if it's worth it. We do laundry a lot more at the laundromat in winter because we're wearing more clothes and it's very cheap to get it done there. And in summer we're not wearing many clothes and I hand wash and it dries quickly, etc. But I guess you've just seen the difference between the different costs of getting laundry done over summer in Europe and in Tunisia in winter.
Yeah, and about $1,000 Australian dollars for a washing machine for the boat. It will take us a while to get that paid back.
5 years. And they dry it and fold it for me, so.
Yeah, it's probably not going to be something that we're going to rush towards.
And the space. Online subscriptions, well, that's just things like Apple storage for our phones. We've got an average of $10 a month in summer and winter. We have a category called transport, and that's things like taxis and buses. So over summer we had $18 a month on transport, and in winter we had $81 a month. We use taxis a lot more in winter.
We do, but a taxi in Monastir that we mainly used was to go down to the souk, which is where we bought a lot of vegetables and clothes at the marketplace down there. That's like $1.50 Australian each way, so it's not a lot of money either. But,
So transport, our category comes to $594 for the year. Much cheaper than having a car. We don't have scooters or bikes either, so we walk or get public transport or taxi. And the final category we have in our living expenses is what I call personal. It used to be called clothing, but then it added hairdressers and, shampoos or skincare, that kind of thing. Shoes. So really anything for our body.
I don't spend a lot at the hairdressers every year. Dude just shaves my head.
Shear him like a sheep. So in personal, over summer we spent $119 a month on average, and in winters we spent $398 a month. A lot more. So a total of $3,102 in personal. Now, you might be surprised why we spent so much more money in Tunisia over winter. Well, there's just so much great stuff to buy. Very cheap, very good quality. We have virtually replaced our wardrobes. We didn't come away with very much, and now we have great gear.
But all of this is, well, pretty much all of it has been second hand. So, as an example, bought a Helly Hansen sort of like a little lightweight puffer jacket for me.
You got two Helly Hansen's jackets, honey. A spray jacket too.
Yeah, so that puffer jacket was about €200 brand new. The jacket I got looked pretty much brand new, and I think cost about 30 Australian dollars. So we did that. When we came over from Australia, we could bring very few things with us, so we didn't have many things on the boat. So we've really taken this opportunity over winter to buy a lot of jackets, clothes, shoes that will last us for quite a few years. So this might be a little bit higher than normal, but again, this is one of your personal preference type things. But I can recommend, if you can get to the second-hand stores, because you can buy really good designer clothes at very little price. How much was this, honey?
I went hunting in the piles of stuff on tarpaulins on the ground for some soft jumpers to lay down for the mama cats having their kittens. So I didn't want to spend very much. So I went to the ones on the floor, knowing they'd be very cheap. And I saw this, I thought, wow, this is gorgeous. And I looked at the label, which I know is an Italian label called Stefanel, I think. And they retail at about €300, and I paid
50 cents.
Half a dinar.
Or half a 25 cents.
Maybe 25 cents. Okay, could have been 50 cents. Aussie, 50 cents. I think it's beautiful. Yeah, great goose down jackets and things. So that's why we spent a lot of money over winter in that personal category. So the total of our living category has come to 20,170 Aussie dollars.
Yeah, it's about a third of our cost for the year. So the next category is travel. For us, our main travel expenses when we go home, and this year we did go home. So it also includes things like we went to Tunis this year and got accommodation up there, but of course that's not a heck of a lot of money inside
And it was my birthday.
Tunisia.
Went to Düsseldorf Boat Show.
We did, and we spent some time in Istanbul as well, so we saw some attractions over there. So this is one of those areas where we've actually sailed past some really great things and not gone in to see them because you can't see everything over here. But most of the time, the attractions that we are seeing, like the Rome and the ruins and sort of stuff, most of it's free or it's
really cheap.
Really cheap.
Yeah.
It's only when you go into the big popular places that you are paying a lot of money. So really, we spent on travel and accommodation this year $9,046, but really, let me look through. Flights is the most, 6,040, so that's really our flights back to Australia, and accommodation 2,544, and most of that was our accommodation in Australia. Outside of that, attractions $190, and miscellaneous travel, which is really airport transfers and the like, is $272. So depends where you live and what you're going to do will really change this travel category.
And whether you actually go home. A lot of people don't go home, certainly don't go home every year.
Yeah.
So you've got a lot of play in that area.
Yeah. Internet and communications, we use Starlink. We couldn't use it over winter. Doesn't work in Tunisia, but the mobile plans in Tunisia are not that expensive. But we're banking on Starlink 12 months of the year, and then we just get some pretty cheap data plans for our phone to cover us when we're on land. So all up, we spend about $2,112 a year on internet and communications.
Out of that, Starlink, we're currently paying $136 a month. We actually tried when we first got Starlink to not have a land plan on our phones because we thought we really only use our phones for maps, to find things when we're in towns, and you can download the maps before you leave the boat. But we didn't like it. We kept getting caught out. I'd want him to pick me up in the dinghy and I can't ring him. So we gave up on that, and we actually just get a fairly cheap local plan. They're not very expensive.
Yeah, and you can make some judicious choices on this. So Malta, the mobile plans are very expensive. Italy is probably the cheapest. So when we go back through Italy this year, we'll pick up mobile plans in Italy. And then they allow you to roam into another part of the rest of Europe for 2 months. So that should see us through the whole of summer. So you can make some good choices on where you're going to pick those up. So total for the year, we spent $59,479 Australian. Now I will put a little disclaimer on here. This doesn't include any of our costs that we consider business costs for running our YouTube channel. So we have subscriptions and software and storage and cameras. And all of that sits on the income side, really on our business, either the expenses and the income we make off it, which sort of just covers it. So we haven't included any of that because that's not a normal boating cost for you.
So what are the factors? What are the things that drive the costs up and down?
Probably the size of your boat and the complexity of your boat is one of the biggest ones. A bigger boat will cost you more for maintenance, more for mooring, more for
cruising taxes, cruising fees.
Yes.
Huge amount, huge difference.
And you can go from manual winches and manual furler drums to hydraulic ones.
More things to go wrong.
Yeah, gen sets in your boats. We see a lot of people repairing the gen sets, and we don't have any generators on our boat. So those are things that can really drive that size and and complexity of your boat can really drive your costs.
Anchoring versus being in a marina is a big difference. Marinas can be very expensive, and if you're happy to anchor, it's free. Anchoring is just free, whereas marina you can be paying €100.
Yeah, and so the other side of that is when you do need to really take a marina, which is the winter months, and I know there might be some people who go, no you don't, I'll just anchor all winter.
Okay.
It's not our lifestyle that we want to put ourselves through, and we actually enjoy being in the marina for winter. That can make quite a big difference to your budget, so that all then falls into your cruising plan as well, is what part of the Mediterranean you are going to spend the winter in, means where you can go to.
Sailing versus motoring. We have a light and fast boat, and we can actually sail with not much breeze. And we don't use the motor a lot, whereas we know people on bigger boats and heavier boats, and they say they need 15 knots before they even get moving, which is hard to find in the Med.
Yes, and that goes back also again to the size of your boat. So our engine's only 40 horsepower, so we use about normal cruising at 1800 RPM, we use about 2 litres an hour. I have a 200 litre tank. So, we could do 50% more, and it's really not going to affect our budget too much. We used $1,600 worth of diesel last year, 50% more, another $800. It's not much. Depending on where you're getting your diesel, you get your diesel in Tunisia, it's 70 euro cents a litre. Some places in Italy it was 225 euros a litre. So there's a big difference also. And so you can make a real difference on how much you're spending on diesel about when you're actually buying it.
DIY versus paying someone for services.
Yeah.
That is a big difference. You can pay a lot for services. So just think of the engine maintenance, which we had done in Malta, compared to the cost of Richard doing it himself.
Yeah.
Something like 1,600 Aussie dollars down to 200 Aussie dollars for materials for Richard to do it.
Yeah. So it's quite a big difference. Learning how to splice, doing all your own rope work. If you're confident in doing electrical work on your boat, all those things are where you can spend money on service people. And it's not just even their labour, it might be where you have to be to get the labour done. So it may mean that you need to spend time in a marina so that somebody can come on board your boat. So there's a double whammy in the cost there.
And come in the day before if it's on the motor, because your motor has to be cold. So you've got 2 nights.
Yeah.
We've done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
And if you spend winter in a marina, then you can learn from other boaters.
Yeah, and have the support of other boaters.
Yeah.
It's been a bonus in the winter, and then at the end of this winter, it was, I think a fine example was 4 boats on our next door to each other in a dock. We're back and forth, sharing tools, sharing experiences on how to get things done.
And working for each other.
Yeah.
Which is really nice to do, actually.
The cruising region, the Mediterranean's not the cheapest area to cruise. If you're cruising in Southeast Asia, your costs would be a heck of a lot different. You might not need to take a marina at all for the winter. Your food costs are going to be less, etc. So those are the things you need to bank into.
Yeah.
But some other things might be more difficult. Finding people that are experienced to work on your boat and to work on your boat would be far more difficult in Southeast Asia than they would be in cruising hotspots in the middle of the Med.
Lifestyle and comfort choices. If you're someone who likes to go out to find meals all the time, then obviously it's going to be more. We don't do that a lot. We actually don't drink alcohol. You might have noticed that there was no bars and drinking in our categories. We don't drink. Not that alcohol in Europe is very expensive anyway.
No, sometimes it's just a little bit more than water, but yeah. So this is an area like you can spend a lot of money going out for dinner.
Yeah.
And if you do that multiple nights a week, and then what tends to play into that as well is you might make choices to stay in marinas more often because you like going out. So,
we don't go out a lot. We might have a meal out in summer. That is, we might have a meal out about once a week. Would be normal for us. Coffees, pastries, most days. Actually.
Ice cream.
Yeah, often.
Yeah.
So what does this luxurious life cost? I think 60,000 Aussie dollars a year is bargain. We feel like we're living a luxurious life.
Yeah.
It's actually not costing very much at all.
Yeah. If you can earn an income along the way, that's all better. You can see that between us, $60,000 is not nothing, but it's not a huge amount of money either. If you're in retirement, then this might be a decent option. But we know others that have bought really big boats and spend $100,000 a year just on the maintenance and operations of their boats.
We know people who live on 2,000 Aussie dollars a year.
Yes.
Sorry, 2,000 Aussie dollars a month. 24 a year.
Yeah.
Not living very much differently to us, I think.
No. So I would encourage you, and what I did when we were looking at this is take notes from this, find some other videos of people that have sailed in the regions that you are going to sail in, have got boats similar to the ones that you are looking at, and that will allow you to build up a really good understanding of what the costs are going to be. Be realistic about the purchase price of the boat, and therefore what you'll need to do. I'm very conscious that we spent a lot of money purchasing this boat, and there won't be there'll be a lot of people that wouldn't have that money to purchase the boat. But ours was purchasing the boat on a time frame of 10 to 15 years of use. So when you look at that upfront cost of what we'd sell it for and the maintenance over the time period, as opposed to buying an older boat and the upfront cost of the maintenance, and then the ongoing maintenance for that same sort of time frame, and what you would actually get for the boat at the end of that time. I haven't worked it out, but it's probably not a heck of a lot different. And in the meantime, we're living on this actually really beautiful boat, so we don't regret that decision at all.
Yeah. We'll put all this information on our website, www.sailinghelios.com.
And if you've got any questions, reach out, and thanks for watching.
See you.